affect high-tech miracles. And really any miracles, miracles of innovation in the pharmaceutical industry or the fashion industry, in entertainment or if you're in biotech. Do they hinder them? Do they help them? Well, let's start by thinking about 3 stories with talent wars. The first is about a girl named Barbie who, a few weeks ago actually, a judge in California said had reigned on her pedestal for 40 years. She was the only doll in town, only girl in town, all-American. And then came another girl, Bratz, a bratty girl. What a chutzpah. That's actually the literal translation of Bratz, chutzpah. And she knocks her off her pedestal, but Mattel and Barbie are not happy. They think that they actually own Bratz. And why do they think they own Bratz? Because the idea for Bratz comes in the mind of a former employee of Mattel, a person who worked for Mattel while he comes up with this competitor. It's a $1 billion lawsuit right now. Another story, David Neilman, a visionary. He has this great idea of really revolutionizing the industry, the airline industry as we know it today. He has a wonderful company that's really focused on customer satisfaction as the #1 goal. But he sits on this idea for 5 years. He takes a professional detour and is not in the airline industry because he's fired from Southwest and he had signed a non-compete to not be in the industry for 5 years. And then Mark Zuckerberg. I'll let you decide. Is he evil? Have you seen the movie, The Social Network? Well, go see the movie and decide for yourselves whether we would be today with the Facebook that we have today if his rivals, the ones that are suing him, that say that they actually employed him to work for their idea of a social network, if they could enjoin him from actually pursuing his own ideas, would we be where we are today with Facebook? So I want to suggest to you that these are complicated questions, and how you fall in the balancing of these questions really depends a lot on how we perceive the process of innovation. How does the innovative process and concept really come about? And I think we all have these conflicting notions of what innovation is about. We have this idea of the wacky scientist sitting in his basement, in his garage, and working individually. But we also know that we have these very sophisticated, large collaborative research and development groups that are in these great corporate companies, like Procter & Gamble. We have an idea of innovation being this single breakthrough that's different from everything that we had before, the wheel, the invention of the wheel. But the cars that we all came in, here today, the very beautiful cars, we know, they use the wheel for sure, but they use hundreds, probably thousands of patents and improvements that incrementally bring us to what we have today. They build on innovation in the industry. Is innovation global today? Do we know everything that's new instantaneously? Is the world really flat? Or is there something about place that really supports the likelihood of having these miracle high-techs? Is there something still about a place like Silicon Valley or a place like Tel Aviv that brings us to this high-tech nation, high-tech miracle, startup nation? These are complicated questions. And I want to suggest to you that for many years now, we've had pretty much a simplified answer to this, what I would call the orthodox economic model theory, that we really want as much control as we can for corporations. They want to control their talent, the movement of their people. They want to control their ideas. They don't want to allow the leakage of their secrets, because the more you have these controls, the more investment you will have. But my collaborators and I have been challenging that idea. And while this may give initial incentives to invest, it also hinders, and we show this experimentally and empirically, it hinders the motivation of people to invest in their own talent and come up with new ideas. And over the long run, it really takes away from that positive spillover effect, as economists would call it, or just all the goodies that come from really dense networks and spilling of knowledge and talent and movement. And we know this empirically, that the more there is talent flow, the more you get bigger bang for your buck in VC investment. You get more patenting. Here's an imaging of two places that start out really equally, Silicon Valley and Route 128 in Massachusetts, these great high-tech hubs. They start out really similarly, but in California, we have a very unique regime. Unlike the rest of the country, California is strongly averse to non-competes. Other places, you can sign people under non-competes. And you get this inventor network that's very dense in California. And everybody who's patenting really knows each other. They move, they speak, they get much more patents and much more knowledge. So I will end here, and I'll leave you with a thought that sometimes you have to lose the battle in order to win the war. Thank you.